Does learning how to fight make you more violent?
I wouldn't say it makes you violent, it makes you controlled. You know, it teaches you how to deal with situations in a manner that most people would just lash out. I think there's a big misconception that you're a fighter, you must be a lunatic and you want to go and smash everyone's face in.
Yeah.
And actually, most fighters are complete polar opposite to that. They are the most laid back, relaxed people, but when they need to, you know, switch it on, they can bring it on, you know.
Do you think the world needs more dangerous men or fewer?
I think it definitely needs more dangerous men, but controlled, because you can be dangerous and have all the power in the world, but if you can't control that power, you're giving power into the wrong hands.
Yeah. Brandon, we live in a world today where most men, young men, feel lost, disconnected, maybe a little bit unsure of what strength actually looks like.
Yeah.
You've been involved with learning how to fight since a very young age for most of your life. What do you think young men at large are missing today?
I think for young men, they're not missing motivation or discipline. They're actually lacking in challenge and putting themselves in uncomfortable situations mentally and physically as well. You know, with fighting, it teaches you how to deal with those situations, not just inside the ring or the cage where we are today, but, you know, outside of that as well. I always turn everything that I do in life into fighting, and I turn my fighter's head on. And how would I deal with these situations, not only just in a fighting scenario, but in a calm, you know, focused manner. And I think that's what fighting teaches you. When you're in those real uncomfortable situations, when you're really deep in those trenches, how do I persevere to move forwards and, you know, come out the other side of these situations? And I think that's what's missing in young men today. You know, you see a lot of people that don't really know what they want to do, or, you know, they can't find their path. Well, it don't have to be fighting, it could be anything that they choose to do, but just having that focus on something that's external to what they do day to day, you know, I think would massively improve and help them.
So you're a professional kickboxer. You've been doing that since 8 years old?
8 years old, yeah.
And you've won you've won quite a few titles now. Can you tell me what those titles are?
So I won the ISKA Semi-Pro Kickboxing World, ICO Amateur K1 World, and the WKMA Kickboxing World, all in 3 weight classes as well.
It's quite impressive.
So yeah, 3-time freeweight world champion. I've boxed as an amateur, as K1 kickboxing, done a little bit of jiu-jitsu as well. Undefeated in that, 1-0 back when I was like 12 years old. But I'll hold on to that one and say I'm undefeated. And yeah, you know, it's been a massive part of my life for, like, I'd say, yeah, 17, 18 years now. So
winning those 3 titles would have tested you quite a lot. I'm sure I'm
Definitely.
not wrong to assume that.
yeah, for sure, yeah.
What would you say the challenge on that path has done to you as a person?
I'd definitely say, you know, it's really focused me, and it's taught me what, like, real work ethic is. And, you know, that then corresponds to, you know, running the businesses. We obviously have the gym, our pet shop, competition company, potato van outside the gym. You know, it's driven me to not only, you know, challenge myself in the ring, but within the companies as well, to push them forwards to be the best that they can be as well. And not only that, we're doing it for our family too. You know, we watched our family, our mum and our dad, you know, working 2 to 3 jobs, struggling, and, you know, that just pushes us now to want to give back to them, and at some point give them the life that they deserve themselves, you know. So I'd say those challenges that have come in the ring have just sculpted us to be who we are and where we're going today.
What would you say is the key key thing that you've learnt from being in the ring that's transferred into real life?
I would say probably just keeping a calm head, you know, because when you're not calm, you can't focus, you make rash decisions, you know, you don't think straight. You just do what you think is right, and it's not calculated. But every move that you make in the ring has to be a calculated decision. Otherwise it can cost you a lot. And I think that's the same that's taught me in life, that I can't just make rash decisions. I need to be the smarter one. I need to be calculated. And to then move forwards, you know, you need to do what's right to go in the right direction. Otherwise you'll end up back at square one again, you know?
When you say the word calm, I think a few people will be thinking of sat watching the sunset, hearing the waves crash, maybe seeing a few butterflies fly about, hearing the birds chirp. But it's not quite like that when you're in a ring.
No, of course not.
A lot of people rely on externals to keep them calm and at peace. How do you do that in the ring?
I just think about everything that I've done leading up to that point. And that no one trains as hard as we do. No one works as hard as we do. And that eases me without having to take anything, you know? And it's funny, isn't it, that, you know, when we talk about calm, that people do assume it is like butterflies flying around your head. For me, I have punches flying around mine. And yeah, just knowing that I've done everything that I could possibly do relaxes me enough to just, when I get in there, just, you know, take that breath. I'm good now.
What happens if you do go into a fight not calm?
That's a hard question. You know, we really program ourselves to do that. So I've never had that scenario where I haven't felt calm when I've got in there. I think if I did, or having seen it through other people, you know, you kind of take the back foot a little bit, whereas I like to take that front foot, you know. When you're doing that and you're taking that back step, you kind of forget about what you're doing and you're so focused on what everyone else is, right? So I feel like that's what would be bad if I was to then go in there not calm. My game plan would just be out the window. And I feel like I wouldn't be able to flow as much as what I normally would.
Does learning how to fight make you more violent?
I wouldn't say it makes you violent, it makes you controlled. You know, it teaches you how to deal with situations in a manner that most people would just lash out. But, you know, it teaches you to look outside the box, right? When you're fighting, you know, you can't just, it's like having a picture this close to your face. You can only see a few colors, right? But you need to take yourself outside of that situation. You look at the situation as a whole, see all the colors, see what this painting's actually about. And I think that's what fighting teaches you. I think there's a big misconception that you're a fighter, you must be a lunatic and you want to go and smash everyone's face in. And actually, most fighters are complete polar opposite to that. They are the most laid back, relaxed people. But when they need to, you know, switch it on, they can bring it on, you know.
I was speaking to someone in the gym here. I think his name's Jack. Beforehand. And we were speaking briefly about, you know, like how important it is, I think personally anyway, and I think a lot of people are starting to find this out, how important it is to have that. To be able to have that combative side about you that you've got under control. And I said to him, you know, it's not, you don't just learn to fight and then go around kicking everyone, punching everyone. It's not like that. You understand that you've got that and you don't have the need to do that. And he was like, yeah. And he said a few things and I understood him. And it made me think the people who learn to fight become very, very secure about themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
The people who go out just scrapping and just fighting everyone, they're just insecure.
Yeah.
And they have a want to put power over other people because they're insecure in themselves. Do you think it's important for people to start learning this from a young age?
Oh, definitely, definitely. The younger that you learn it, the more it can carry you, through life, right? You think if people learnt it as an adult and it changed how they are as an adult, if you do it from a child, how you would then conduct yourself through your school, whether that goes on into college, sixth form, university, it will shape you and sculpt you in a way that, like I said, will keep you nice and relaxed, keep you focused, keep you disciplined. That's obviously a massive part of martial arts. And combat is that discipline side of things as well. And then you'll truly be able to reach your full potential. Whereas I feel like if you don't have martial arts or combat from a young age, you see it a lot with a lot of what's going on outside now. These young kids, they have no purpose. They don't know what they want to do. They're beating people up, stabbing them, stealing, and that's because they haven't had that focus. They haven't been led on the right path. They've been left to their own devices. They kind of like go off on their own ways. And because of that, they try to find what's right, and actually what they think is right isn't, because they're young. They need that guidance. They need to be around people like that are in that combat gym, that can show them that that discipline, that focus, show them what the hard work actually works. Not just thinking that you're working hard because you're out on the street. Like, you're not working hard out there. The hard work's done in here. And then that would translate into the rest of your life.
Do you think it instantly builds confidence, or do you think you have to go through the humility first?
Definitely have to go through humility, for sure. You need to get your ass handed to, and then you can build yourself up from there. And I mean, if you come in and it doesn't happen, then you must be you're working towards a world title straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been many a times that I've been beat back to the ground, had my feet like planted firmly again, and then build myself back up.
Do you think that's important?
Definitely, definitely. I actually had it after one of my world title fights. I had the fight, everyone was singing my praises. I won by the second round stoppage. I was buzzing. I was on cloud 9. I think it was like 6 days after the fight, my coach come into the gym, and that was actually my birthday as well. So he's come in and he was like, let's have a talk. And I'm thinking, I know what this is, because he warned me about it on fight night. Like, after I got out the ring, he was like, good performance, but we're going to catch up about it. And I was like, oh, no, congratulations for your win. We're going to catch up about it. Sorry, not good performance. When he then pulled me to the side, he said, well done. You got the W, you won, blah, blah, blah. But I tell you now, fight like that again, and it's on. He was like, your fight was that shit. I don't even want the video on my phone. And I was like, oh, I was like that bad. And he's like, yep. He was like, you were wild, you didn't like stick to your plan. And I think for that really grounded me. And that has now, because leading up to the fight, I'd already beat this guy previously, and I stopped him as well. So in my head, I knew I could beat him again. And then everyone was in my ear and telling me, oh, you don't get paid for overtime, get in there, get it done. So then I was reckless. But because I allowed people to be in my ear saying those things, I then maybe didn't keep as calm as what I was, saying that about earlier. So now it's really taught me that, I shut off from everyone else. I have one voice in my corner, which is my coach. I fully focus, I lock in, and that's that now. So yeah, no, I think, you do have to go through that humility to come through the other side.
What's a part of fighting that you don't enjoy?
Getting punched in the face. No, I'm joking. It's actually quite sadistic. We do like being punched in the face, weirdly enough. I would say for me, a part of fighting that I don't enjoy. That's a real hard question. I would say, obviously, the part that everyone doesn't enjoy is when it doesn't go their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
human nature. We all want to win. Luckily for me, it happens a lot in training, which is, one day I might feel on top of the world, and then the next day I'll come crashing down. It hits me hard. I might have a sparring session, get an ass tanning, and then, I'll have to pick myself back up. And going through those days are hard, but equally at the same time, and I might not like it, but it's what then builds me back up and sculpts me for the next day,
So that was going to be my lead-up question to that was, why do you do it? Why do you keep doing it if you don't enjoy it?
Yeah, I keep doing it just because, it just constantly builds you.
Yeah.
Because then I think back on it and I say, right, this was horrible. This was hard. I feel a certain way about it. I give myself the night. I sleep on it. I get back up the next day and I say, I'm not making the same mistake twice. I recap what I'd done. I really think about everything. How can I tweak it? How can I change it? If this didn't work for me, how can I make it work? Not how can I change it? Like, I want to keep what I'm doing the same, but just how I apply it will be slightly different. And yeah, then that, really boosts me back up again to, go again. For some people, that'll crumble them, afterwards, that'll be them done. They'll say, I'm finished, that's it. But I think from doing it from such a young age, it's built that mentality that makes me now want to move forwards and carry on,
We live in a world where social media at large, but in general, it's become very confusing to find role models in people, to know what's like the right way to be. You've had the likes of like the Tates, the Dan Balzerian, I think his name is.
Okay.
Jocko Willink, all these people, David Goggins, blah 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 blah. We don't know necessarily what's right, especially when we find that they contradict each other's beliefs. If you were to walk into a room right now, a random room, how would you be able to identify someone who's actually dangerous?
You can see by someone who's dangerous because they're usually the quiet ones, right? If you're the loud, brash guy, you're generally, like we said, you feel like you've got something to prove. You feel like you've got to show who you are, when actually the most dangerous people are the ones that are quiet. And they just have an aura, that presence about them. I'll go back to my coach again. He can be very, very loud if he wants to be. And when he does talk, maybe it's not so much him being loud, but he's respected, so he's heard, right? And you can tell by respected people, they are heard because you can just tell it about them, right? When he walks into a room, he doesn't need to say anything. He can just walk in. He can just say hello to everyone. And you look at him and you think, you're a dangerous man. He doesn't need to say anything to you, and you just know. And I think for some people, you could, like I said, they just have that aura about them. When they walk in, you look at them and you're just like, you're a dangerous man.
What makes your coach respectable?
The fact he beats me up every nah, I think
like how's he got to the position he's in to earn respect?
I think he's just from years of putting a graft in work. He's so diverse in his arts that he's done. He's like, if you ask him, have you done this martial art before? 9 times out of 10 he's done it. He comes from a boxing family. He then done I believe it was Aikido at school, which he really enjoyed, and karate. But but he didn't really enjoy karate as much because back in school he was a lot smaller than what he is now. Yeah, the growth spurt is massive now. But yeah, obviously with karate, it's a real like smashing out. Everything you do is, 100% you put in. So then he found Kung Fu, and then Kung Fu was the one for him, it being obviously like a Chinese art. A lot of people over there are smaller, so they use a lot of redirecting techniques, and then like counters off of the back of it, and then it suited his style. And then as he went through that, he then just started to, learn more. He's obviously then gone into like kickboxing. He's done like Thai boxing, Muay Boran, that sort of thing. So he is so diverse in what he does, which makes him so respected, because he kind of brings everything all to one. And when he's talking about stuff, you just are like, wow, like, his accolades and stuff that he's done. He like done he done the moves for the characters in Tekken 2.
Oh wow.
That sort of thing. So yeah, like he's like got a book like this, he says, of like all his accolades, and you're like, all right, fair enough. Like fair play.
Is there a particular personality trait that your coach has that you think you could do better
at? Yeah, I would say just having that that ability to be able to, when he does need to talk, project his voice where it's just bam. Do you know what I mean? And then the whole room would stand still. I'd say like having that ability to be able to do that, and just not all the time, but when it's warranted, be able to just go rah, and then get the room to, that is like a trait of like that respect that I would say I would like one day to be able to build myself up to. Right now, I can like get people's respect, but being like at that point where it's like, everyone looks and is like, all right, cool, we need to switch focus now, switch back on again. I
want to go back to the bit you said about being the quietest man in the room, because that's something so true. And being a young man myself, I remember when Andrew Tate first became a big thing. I was about to sit my GCSEs and stuff, and I would say at large he's had a net positive impact on me, inspiring me to work harder on myself and be a better man for the people around me. One of the things he said that's really stuck with me is that in life, as a man, you're kind of born without value. Your value is derived from how hard you can work, how disciplined you are, etc. And there's obviously a whole bunch of things about Andrew Tate which I disagree with. I think everyone disagrees with someone in some way.
Yeah, of course.
So that's just natural.
Yeah.
But I listened to this guy. He's brilliant. He's called Dry Creek Dwayne. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like, you might have seen him on socials. Big beard, cowboy hat. He sits smoking cigars in the morning and just makes a video. He's brilliant. I think he embodies a good masculinity. But one thing he said, and he made a video particularly about Andrew Tate, is Andrew Tate's not a dangerous man because he's the loudest man in the room. He has to make himself heard by everyone because he's not secure in himself.
Yeah.
He isn't happy with himself enough to be able to sit with his own thoughts and be happy with his own point of view of things. He has to get everyone else around him to follow him, to agree with him. And I think from what you've said just there about being the quietest person in the room, I think that's so true.
Yeah.
You can sit there being content with your own thoughts.
Yeah. Do you know what, with Tate, it's a funny one. So actually, I think it was back in 2014 now, my brother and him actually fought on the same show together in France.
Wow.
So they actually were weight cutting in the saunas together. We all went for dinner in the evening with his brother and their coach, Amir Sabasic, as well. I've fought on a few of Amir's shows and stuff, and he's a good friend of ours. At the table, from what I can remember, obviously it being a long time ago now, it's completely different. What everything is portrayed to be on social media to how he is in person. I didn't like, he wasn't loud, he wasn't, he wasn't what he is, what you see online, right? And I think that's a lot of people, put a big persona on camera that isn't actually what they are in person. So yeah, it's funny because like I remember seeing a completely different side, very down to earth, humble, nice guy, not loud and proud, shall we say, as what you might see online. So it's funny to see people on and off of the camera, you know.
Do you think he's still that calm, humble guy today, or do you think the fame and the money has changed?
I think he is. I believe that he is. But obviously, you know, I don't know. Time can change. Maybe I'm still holding on to obviously my beliefs from the past, from what I saw back then. You know, people can change. You know, especially with fame, money, these sorts of things. You know, it does change people, right? But I don't know. I believe that maybe what you see online is not quite what actually he is like in person. I could be wrong. I don't know. You know, before anyone shoots me down for it. But yeah, that's what I believe.
So you're a dad, you have a son. I can imagine you're definitely thinking about the impact that you want to have on him as a dad. While also on your own search to find your own North Star in, you know, how to be in life, how to be a man, how to be a dad, etc. What things are you trying to learn that you hope one day you'll pass on to your son?
I think that for me, it's just my work ethics that I want to pass on to him, but also how to be very humble, you know, caring, nice boy into a man at some point, you know. I don't want to push anything onto him. I really want him to find himself, and I'll guide him in doing that. You know, I won't force him to do anything he doesn't want to do, like fighting, for example. If he wants to do it, great. If he doesn't, not a problem. But I will make him learn the art, not necessarily to fight, but just to have that bit of confidence in him to be able to stand on his feet, you know, be able to put his chest out and say, you know, I'm confident enough to, you know, either walk around on the street by himself, without having to look over his shoulders constantly, or to, you know, like take that with him as he goes through life and, you know, pushing himself to be the man that he wants to be, to go down the path that he wants to go down. So I want to give him that, that work ethic, that strength, but also that humbleness as well that comes with it, that he doesn't abuse the power that he's got, or that hopefully he will have one day, you know.
Have you thought much about getting him involved in martial arts, combat sports?
Yeah, I mean, we do a little bit now and again now. Every Friday in the daytime when I have him, we always come here. I get him on the pads and stuff, try to teach him some techniques. He beats me up. We play some games in here.
That's a pretty strong 4-year-old.
I mean, yeah. We'll be holding the pads up like this. I'll be jab, poof. I'll be like, jab the pads. That I'm joking. Nah, he's pretty good actually. He really focuses at when we're doing it together. Just give him a little 30 minutes, you know, where we do a bit together, bit of bonding time as well. You know, everything I do, I want him to be happy in what we do together, you know. And I want him to know that he's always got his dad by his side no matter what, because I think a lot of children growing now might not always have that. And that's one thing that I will always make sure he has, and that's me by his side constantly, you know. So yeah, we do train a little bit together. But like I said, I just keep it small, short, sweet, keeps him happy. You know, he's still learning, he's still developing his skills. But I won't force him to do more than that for now. We'll slowly build it, you know. If he shows more interest and he wants to do more of it, then he can come in and we'll slowly start doing more. But it's all just, you know, small foundations and just building blocks from now.
There's been a huge increase in awareness of men's mental health and stuff. We live in a world where it's massive, like huge, massive awareness, but also a lot of men are really struggling. It's been this big cloud over trying to pinpoint why that actually is. But a lot of men are told to speak up about it, etc. Do you think we live in a world where maybe things are slightly over-therapized, where we could also maybe just do a little bit more physical exertion?
Yeah, I think, like definitely by like getting yourself into some form of activity. It doesn't need to even just be sport, but just doing something that can preoccupy the mind and take the mind off of things, definitely helps. I think talking is one thing, but if you've got a problem and you keep talking about the problem, you're just thinking about the problem all the time. Whereas if you do something, you can take your mind off of it. So then now there's that period of time where you're now forgetting about why you were feeling a certain way, which can then, hopefully then push you forwards to then be like, well, actually, I am feeling this certain way. Yes, there might still be a problem there, but I can deal with it. And if I, keep pushing and, moving myself in this direction, then actually this problem might subside and go away. And at some point, I'll be back to being where I am. I think now, though, a lot of things are forced upon us. A lot of things that people see, especially the younger ones that are growing up, is all mental health, mental health, mental health. When I was growing up, I didn't really see any of that. And I feel for me that, I'm okay, I'm all good. And don't get me wrong, there is people that struggles out there and, genuinely do maybe need to, speak to someone, but it shouldn't just all be speaking. It should be, doing something about it as well, doing some form of, activity. All right, fighting, we can use that as an example. Obviously, we're here, just coming in and just letting some steam off on the bag, for example, just forgetting about all your stresses, even for an hour. Afterwards, you get just such like a big rush afterwards. You feel great. You feel like you're on top of the world. And I couldn't, like for myself, I couldn't see that like myself without that for me, and that's without, and I don't have mental health issues, but I would still want that now, just as a feel-good factor,
Do you think if you didn't have the martial arts and kickboxing, you may struggle with some mental problems?
I don't think I would, because we're very grounded as a family, and we're very tight as a unit as well. And I've got a lot of people around me, that keep me on my feet. So I don't think I personally ever would. But that's just, thanks to, my family, my partner, obviously my son now. But yeah, growing, like, that was never going to happen because of how close we all are.
What do you think martial arts or combat sports does for people that other physical exercise doesn't?
I think that, when you're training in combat sports and martial arts, it's obviously a form of fitness, which is great. But imagine having some frustrations that you can't really get out. You can get out here. Like, I could hold the pads for you and you could literally just put everything in onto the pads. I don't know what you're feeling, and I don't need to know. So there's no need for that communication there and that talk, but you're getting fit and also at the same time letting out frustration, learning how to protect yourself, learning how to carry yourself outside. There's so much that goes into combat sports, building that resilience to hard situations. That's what you pull out of this sport. Whereas, when you're doing other things, you might not get all of that in one. I'd say like martial arts and combat sports is such a broad like umbrella. Like, there's so much that goes underneath it, whereas other sports do have things that go into it, but just not as much, you know.
Definitely, I've noticed as well. Like if I've had a stressful day, or I've got something just ticking in my brain, gym just doesn't make the cut because you got to hit a set and you got a 2-minute rest where I just want to unload on something.
Yeah, exactly that.
Put a bag in front of me, all that energy just goes.
Yeah, exactly that. You can just, put the gloves on and say, right, you know what, I've got 15 minutes. I'm just going to lever the bag for that 15 minutes. By the end of it, you'll be completely spent and you're like, oh, do you know what? Rather than going and smashing that person's face and now smashed them, put their face on the bag and pictured it on there, and it just keeps you level then. It does keep you just solidly grounded,
Fighting and like martial arts as a broad bracket have been a massive thing for thousands of years. You trace it back to East Asia, thousands of years, South America, the Mayans, all this stuff goes way back. Why do you think that is?
There's only one reason for it, really, and that's obviously what we were just talking about. Like, the reason it's gone so far back is obviously probably back then it was the way of the people fighting without obviously getting told off for doing so, probably, like a lot of obviously you got an art it's in my head. Literally, I've got it on the top of my head. I can't think of it now. It's more, they treat it more of like a dance, right?
Right, okay.
But actually it's still a proper fight. It's going to really bug me now.
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Podcast. I'll find out after.
I'll let you know it. I'll let you know. But it's literally, I was only talking about it yesterday as well. But they weren't allowed to fight, so they used the dance as their way of fighting, right? But these things, like, they obviously kept themselves, all right, cool, we had our fights, cool, shake hands on it, it's done afterwards, everyone stays, everyone's happy, settle it properly, and then it's finished. I think that's why it's probably gone on for so long, and the fact that, it keeps people so structured and focused, and I feel like that's why the arts have continued for so long. Don't get me wrong, I feel like they are slightly more probably watered down now than what they were before, but that also probably is, especially in the UK, obviously the way the world's going, you can't be certain ways, you can't do certain things, so you have to slightly, pull back on certain things. But yeah, no, I think that's why it's probably continued for so long.
We live in an attention economy nowadays, and I think you can see the impact on that on boxing and combat sports in general. A lot of it is online performance based. You see a lot of clout, a lot of beef going on in the weigh-ins and that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Is that real?
I mean, yes and no. Some people genuinely have that hate for each other, and it's real. A lot of the other stuff, you see, they go up, they square up, they push and shove. I think it's a lot of like the YouTuber styled like boxing, which has obviously made that a thing. But yeah, I mean, I'd say it's 50-50 really. There are some people with genuine bad intentions. Obviously, when you're leading up to a fight, it's my life or it's your life.
Yeah.
One of us is coming out on top. The other one, isn't. So there's certain times, that people, you can tell, are being genuine, and other times you can see it's just a load of rubbish, basically.
Can you see that reflected in the fight?
Yeah, definitely. You can, if I think a good example would be like Eubank versus Ben.
Yeah.
In that first fight, that bad blood there between the families. You see Ben just comes out throwing bombs straight away. I remember watching it like, oh, okay, like I haven't seen a fight like this for a long time. You could see that he genuinely come out with bad blood, but then he also didn't have a calm head. which is probably why the decision went the way it did in the first fight. But then you saw a completely different Ben in the second fight, and then the result was different the second time, you know?
Do you think the fight is more likely to go smoother if there's less hatred between the fighters beforehand?
I would say it might go smoother, but there's still that. It's like putting two hungry animals in a cage together, right? Like, it might be smoother with less hatred because they're not using emotions as such, or certain emotions. But you know, it still will be you know, a fight regardless. Like, I don't know if there's such thing as like a smooth fight, really. You know, especially when you're well, punching or kicking as well each other in the face. It's never ever smooth.
What does getting punched or kicked in the face do to the ego?
Ooh, I mean, to be fair, for me, if I do take a decent shot, it doesn't really bruise my ego as such. I kind of just nod. I respect it, and I say, all right, cool. You know, fair enough. You the fact that you've managed to bring one through, you know, I commend you for it. But watch what I'm gonna do to you now. You know, you know, you catch me, and this is the thing about fighting. What I was saying about turning or changing the mentality from it being like, you know, oh, you know, I'm getting punched, to, all right, I got punched. I'll shake that one off, smile about it, enjoy it, soak it up. Now you wait until I'll catch you back now.
What does it take to move on from getting punched in the face but losses? You know, how do you not get caught up on times where you've not done so well?
So for me, like, I'm just like, you know what? Better man was there on the day. You know, I go off, I reevaluate the situation. I look at what he did well, what I did well, what I could have done better. And then, you know, pick myself up and go again. I think for me, and how I've been trained, is we don't really get praised. Because if you're telling me I'm doing good all the time, how am I ever going to get better, right? If you're you know, if you keep saying, oh yeah, well done, you're doing this amazing, doing that amazing. Okay, cool. But for me, how we get trained is, you know, this isn't being done right. This needs to be fixed. This needs to be changed. Blah, 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 blah. You know, we need it perfect, you know, and we have a saying that we don't, you know, it's not practice makes perfect. We always say perfect practice makes perfect. So there's no time for us getting compliments and getting told, you know, we're doing amazing. If we were doing amazing, we'd be at the highest level we are already.
Yeah.
And I'm not there yet. So once I'm there, I can, you know, sit back and maybe take a compliment. But for now, you know, just keep pushing, keep taking the like constructive criticism to keep building me, and then that will then build me up to obviously being where I need to go. But I think that then going back to, you know, taking the loss and stuff, if I ever was to take a loss, I would then still have that mindset of that constructive criticism where it's, you know, you could build by doing this to make this better. And that would then push me through to then take that loss, take it on my shoulders, you know, shrug it off and say, all right, cool, let's put my head back into the drawing board and restart to push and go again.
Is a harmless man a good man?
I mean, I would say yes, a harmless man is a good man, but I also feel like he needs to have that bit of bite about him, because he will end up just getting walked over otherwise. And you can't let anybody ever walk over you. Never. So you've always got to have that little bit of, you know, a bit of confidence. Yeah. You know, about you. Otherwise, you'll just be kicked down to the curb constantly. nothing wrong with being harmless, you know, but you can be harmless, but you need to have that little trigger about you as well, you know.
Does fighting give you that spine, that
of course,
backbone of self-confidence?
Of course. You know, I always have this conversation with Linus, who's one of the pro boxing coaches here. We're like, how would we feel, or how would we carry ourselves if we didn't know any martial art, or if we didn't know any or have any combat experience? How could we hold ourselves up, you know, put our chin in the air, or hold our head high, you know, holding our head high, chin down and all that, right? Without doing a martial art. And I think that's what really, you know, gives us that confidence, is that knowing that, you know, if we need to, you know, it's like Trump having his red button under his desk. If he needs it, it's there. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same for us. Like, if we need it, you know, we can switch it off, and, you know, but majority of the time we've got it, you know, firmly off.
Do you think the world needs more dangerous men or fewer?
I think it definitely needs more dangerous men, but controlled, you know, because you can be dangerous and have all the power in the world, but if you can't control that power, then, you know, you're giving power into the wrong hands.
Yep.
You know, so I think, yes, it does need dangerous people in it, because dangerous people take risks, you know, and with risk come rewards, right? But, you know, you need to have calculated risks for the rewards to come.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up, you know, just with, a bit of a shit show.
Did you ever get rid of fear, or just learn to make do with it?
I think I just learned to make do. I learned to control it, you know, especially with fighting. You know, there's that fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
When you're at your medicals, you're signing that line at the last line of the page that says, I, so-and-so, you know, consent to basically giving my life away in the ring tonight.
Damn.
Signing that, and then going, like, it could happen. You don't know.
You have to do that before every fight?
Every fight. Every medical you have, you sign a waiver.
And it says, I understand that in this I could die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
So, you know,
what does it take to process that?
I mean, a lot of people just go,
yeah, don't even read it.
And don't even read it, and they just go. But I think, you know, you then just, when you do sign that, and you go, wow, right, like, it's time. Like, I need to make sure the best version of me shows up tonight. Otherwise, you know, anything can happen. One wrong punch, right?
Yeah.
Right place, the right time. You know, it can happen. So I think, you know, you do process it, and it's like one of those ones where you go like, damn, let's just go with the flow, you know, and it's kind of like living your life on that edge, right? You're like on the top of that cliff, like, you know, you might go, you might not, but we're here, and if I do, I'm gonna just smile my way down to the bottom.
In fighting, in your opinion, what separates the winners from losers?
I think what separates the winners from the losers is the work ethic, that discipline, that motivation. You know, when you're completely spent, still managing to pull yourself up when you think you've got nothing left in you. You know, that's really what separates the winners from the losers. You know, losers, they just, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna just bumble along and do my thing and hope for the best. I don't hope for the best. You know, you can't hope for the best. You can't leave anything to chance. You have to make sure you don't leave any stone unturned, you know. And I think that's what separates them. You know, having that drive, that push. Like, when I'm out running, I run a lot of the time, for example, on the road, 10, 11 o'clock at night. and I'm out there on the road and I'm thinking, my opponent's in bed, you know, so then it builds my mindset, you know. And same thing like on a Sunday night, I always do my first run of the week on a Sunday night, because Sunday's a day of rest for everybody. Sunday's the day I start working, so I'm already a day ahead of everyone. And, you know, it's just having that mindset that I call it's like a champion's mindset of just, you know, it's just everything's about the fight. Everything's go, go, go.
Mindset of a lion.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, that's what separates you.
Given the position that you're in as a professional fighter, if this right now was a clip on social media and it went viral, what would you want everyone to hear?
I would say to everyone, how bad do you want it? Because there's one thing talking about it, but there's another thing actually doing it. Yeah. You have to actually get out there, you know, get the mud on your shoes, go and do it, put the work in, you know, put the blood, the sweat, the tears into it, prove and show yourself, not anyone else, but yourself deep inside, that I want this so bad that I'm going to put everything into it. You know, forget about going out and partying and drinking, smoking, whatever you're doing, eating crap, you know, all that goes out the window. You got to lock in, you got to focus on you. You got to pursue what you want. You got to not leave any stone unturned. Do everything you can. Give 110%. I always say 110 instead of 100, because it's 10% more than the next man. And once you can do that and say you've done that, you know, then you'll be at peace with yourself and be fully satisfied.
To the young man, young teenager, or anyone really, men, women, anyone who feels lost in their life right now and wants a bit of a kickstart to get going, what would you say to them?
I'll just say, what are you waiting for? You know, there's no point sitting there saying that, you know, you want to get a kickstart and you want to just go and do it. You know, pick yourself up, find something that you want to do, you know, whether you need to, you know, take yourself away for a little bit to find yourself, to find what it is, find out what it is, and then just run with it. You know, just get it done. Because there's one thing saying you want to do something, and there's another thing actually doing it. So, you know, grab it by the horns and then just run with it.
What's coming up for you, Brandon? What have you got going on in your life?
So next month on the 14th of April, I'll be flying over to Dubai to fight in Dubai. Obviously that's permitted with everything that's going on at the moment. You know, with the war and all the missiles, drones. A lot of people out there are saying it's not as bad as what you know, it's being portrayed to be. So, you know, fingers crossed, hopefully that all goes ahead. That'll be happening next month. And then after that will be June. Hopefully, it's just all being confirmed now. But I'll be having a big kickboxing fight against the Irish Wacko world champion over in Bedford. So he'll be flying over. And we'll be going to war with him. Then after that, hopefully I'll get something in the middle between now and November, and then I'll be going again in November as well. If Dubai doesn't happen now, it will happen then. So yeah, that's the fighting side of things. And then, you know, in this time as well, you know, we've got some massive plans here at the gym at Pegasus. We want to, at some point, or we will be redoing the reception quite soon. After that, we've got plans for the mezzanine floor downstairs. We've got plans for the combat floor here. We've also got plans for the spa area as well, where we want to expand the spa area, make the areas a little bit nicer, make it more premium, just give everyone a better service. We've also got our pet shop that we're, you know, doing stuff for everyone, our pet shop, where, you know, we're trying to expand our ranges there, trying to get more deliveries out, trying to make it spread across the UK, more than just based in more than just local deliveries. And then on top of that as well, we've got a competition company where we're just going to keep hammering that and keep pushing out. We've just done over 14K's worth of prizes now. We had a Mercedes A220 competition, which was actually my old car. The winner actually decided that he wanted to take the cash, so he won 7.5 grand. It got transferred into his bank that night. So yeah, we've got some big plans, and we're just gonna keep pushing them.
Where can we find these things? So Pegasus Gym is in Aylesbury.
Yeah, Pegasus Gym Aylesbury. On Instagram, Facebook as well. Pegasus Competitions, same thing. Pegasus Pets as well. All online on our websites too. You can see them on there. My Instagram is _Brandon_Cobra_Cook with a K on the C. So it's Kobra. And you'll be able to find us all on those pages and all online.
Brilliant. Thank you, Brandon.
There we go.
Cool.